Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, can you hear me okay?
I can. You sound fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I have an AC blasting. That's why I wasn't sure if that was gonna play a role. Okay.
All right. So we got 5 agenda items.
Yep. All relatively small.
Yeah. So it should be
Yeah.
relatively easy.
Yeah. We got the memos on 3 of the 5 too, in miscellaneous items last week. So
2 of the 5. The third one was on the parking study. So
we got something on TNC too.
okay. So we got TNC and the wayfinding.
We got something on blue bikes too.
Did we get something on that? I'm trying to.
Yeah. Hey, Laura. Hey, Steve.
How's it going?
Good.
Good.
Yeah. Starting to get used to this Zoom life. Never leaving my house. Just conferencing many times a day, every day.
All day long.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, there was a memo on blue bikes. We didn't get anything on the shuttle, did we?
No.
Although I did see that we sent out a request for proposal
Did.
Yeah.
from the purchasing site,
You did.
but it wasn't sent to the council, so.
Fascinating reading.
Is town hall's doing summer hours right now, right?
Yes.
Yep.
We should always strive to hold meetings when that happens on Tuesdays at 5 or 6. Cut
Sounds
right
good
into
to
that
me.
work day.
Works for us.
Yeah. I feel like it's the least we could do. It's a noble goal. Yeah.
So I just, I just want, so is there nobody from the TMA is coming, right?
Sophia is going to come.
Oh, she is.
At least that was the last I heard. She was planning to come.
Okay. Because I'm just taking the minutes. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Did anybody hear from Lisa?
Nope.
I haven't.
Still have a minute. Hey, Gideon.
Hey, I'm just going to say hi. I'm just listening in.
Nice.
Because I can.
Just a glutton for punishment, huh?
Right?
Well, I am at work, so maybe this is easier than doing other work. Or maybe
There you
I'll be doing emails while I'm listening.
Dream.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've noticed people started to figure out. You can be on a Zoom call and your camera on and be doing other things on your computer.
Or your
But-
camera off.
but
Even
you-
better.
But nobody knows you're doing other things, or it looks better if you have your camera on and you're present, but you're still doing other things. Sort of.
But you can tell because their eyes are down.
Mhm.
Right.
Like during council meetings when someone's reading council minutes that are 7 pages long. Like, oh, awesome. I'm gonna use this time to send out some emails to my constituents. Yeah. All right. Well, it's 5 and we have a big agenda, so I'll get started and hopefully Lisa will jump in soon. So call the meeting to order. It's the Committee on Economic Development and Planning. We are here tonight to get updates on 5 different issues. So I think we can go whatever order makes sense. I have them listed here. First one being electric scooters, then blue bikes, the shuttle, the wayfinding grant, and TNC funds. But I don't particularly care which order we go in. So if it's okay, Steve, I could kick it over to you and Laura, and whatever you guys want to start with, we'll start with, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. And I'll let Laura do most of the talking tonight, since she's been working very hard on all these topics and getting a tremendous amount done, even in these difficult times. I think it's been impressive. Some exciting developments on blue bikes, scooters, not so much, but we did want to get some feedback from you guys on that. And similarly, some exciting developments, I think, with the TMA and the Pleasant Street shuttle. And wayfinding grant and the TNC funds, both of those, I think we wanted to get some opportunity to get some feedback from the council. I think the wayfinding grant is an interesting one and a way to get us to, some actual, production on wayfinding, as opposed to, we've talked about that for a long time and really haven't gotten very far. So some pretty exciting developments in that. So what I'll do is I'll just turn it over to Laura, let her jump in with some updates on that. And I will jump in where need be and, supplement what Laura has to say. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Laura.
Okay, great. I will start with scooters. I assume everybody can hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So we last spoke about scooters in September of 2019, almost a full year ago. Scooters have still not come to the Boston area because the existing law just doesn't really work for the new model of electric scooters, I should say. The particular issue is signal lights and brake lights. The new scooters don't have those, and that's a requirement in the current law. There's new legislation that's been kicking around for quite a while. It is part of the transportation bond bill, and so it is expected that something will come out. It's in the conference committee right now. People seem to think that something will emerge as part of that bill. So we're kind of still in the same place we were in September, but I'm still interested in hearing from you. What are you interested in with scooters? Do we want to promote scooters in Watertown or and regulate them? And just what are your thoughts? You're enthusiastic about it, or?
Sure. Vinny, you want to start?
Sure. So our recommendation last time back in September 16th was to ask the administration to continue discussions with the MAPC and surrounding communities on electric scooters and come back to the committee after legislation is passed in order to decide how to best proceed. So I think right now that, as you mentioned, the legislation is still pending. We don't know what that's going to look like. We don't know what the impact is going to be on surrounding communities. And I think we found, sort of like with the Lime bikes or with the blue bikes, that these are sort of regional transportation things because we're all so small. And I think we need to figure out sort of what the plan is for the whole Metro Boston area. Because I think it's going to be hard for us in Watertown to say we want to do X if Cambridge and Newton and Boston are doing Y, because people are going to want to, it's going to be the same kind of thing. I don't know if we should do scooters or should not do scooters. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. I think it's going to depend what the legislation comes out as. So I would continue to say, let's wait and see until the law's passed and what the MAPC comes up with, sort of a regional solution, and then maybe we should talk about Watertown. Yeah,
I guess from my perspective too, if you were thinking, I think it's worth pursuing once the legislation's passed and we get an idea what our partners are doing in the area. You know, I think they're a viable mode of transportation that we should be exploring. So if I was giving it, you know, right now, like a gladiator style thumbs up or down, it'd be, you know, thumbs up to keep moving forward with it. And Tony, do you have something to?
You're on mute.
I think I would agree with Kenny, and in the same way with Vinny, but I do want to be more positive about them in this sense of, or more advocate for them. I think they're a great tool for getting around. I know that that it seems to me a good thing, particularly if you put them like you've done the blue bikes close to transportation T areas for if this as close as we can within our city limits. And I also think they're great just to get around town. So I would just advocate, you know, I have no problem waiting. Obviously, you want to wait till the legislation, and usually the MPAC would be helpful if they do have a regional approach. But I just want to put my 2 cents in for moving forward with them.
Good. Okay.
You're muted, Kenny.
Sorry, Lisa?
Hi, sorry you guys started without me. I tried several times to connect and it wasn't working, so I'm not sure what all I missed. I know I got on 5 minutes late and I guess you guys already started. If you could bring me up to speed quickly, or just, I tried by phone and, but now you can see I'm on video, so thankfully I'm connected.
It was just basically that the last recommendation was to wait until the legislature acted before we move forward with further consideration for electric scooters, and they haven't acted yet.
Right, I just, is there an agenda other than we're just getting an update from
Nope.
planning? Okay.
Okay.
I would say that, make a comment now, is that?
Sure.
I don't, if I'm interrupting. Yeah, I'm just, we don't have the infrastructure in place, so my main concern is with safety. I know people are already, a lot of complaints of bicyclists not feeling safe. So in particular with Watertown, I'd like to see a more concrete plan of how we would handle scooters. But yeah, I guess there's not a real update other than, as you said, things are kind of on hold with the state legislature.
Yeah. Councilor Canellis?
Thank you. I'm not part of the committee, but will offer my input here. I have heard many concerns about scooters and issues that were voiced in Brookline as well when the program was implemented in that community. So I think it's important that we get a lot more information. And not only that, it's a safety issue. And how do we regulate it? Our streets and sidewalks are very narrow, especially in our business districts. And I just feel there would be too much congestion. And at this point in time, I would not support scooters. Thank you.
Any other comments on scooters before we jump over to the next topic? Okay, great. Laura, do you want to, whatever topic you want to do next?
Okay, I'll talk about blue bikes now. Blue bikes have launched. The first station was installed last Friday, includes Square. There will be a total of 7 stations. 3 of them are on public property and 4 are on private property. We got a grant from MassDOT for $80,000 and matched it with $20,000 from TNC funds to fund the first 6 stations, and the 7th station is being funded partially by the 2 hotels, the Residence Inn and a new hotel being built at Arsenal Yards. Alexandria has also made a contribution out of its TDM obligation. The thing with the hotels is that they all had a shuttle requirement and made the case to us that it didn't make a lot of sense for them to participate in a shuttle, although they could promote the shuttle, that the shuttle was available, but they weren't likely to get a lot of riders. So this was somewhat of a way to get something from them that we thought would reduce their driving, the single occupancy vehicle driving from the hotels. And they were both quite willing to do that. The station locations are Coolidge Square at the Coolidge Playground, Nichols Avenue and will be on the Lynx property in their parking area, which is mostly empty. One at Arsenal Yards, one at Arsenal on the Charles at the Kingsbury Road. One in front of 202 Arsenal Street, which is the vacant lot between Gables and Elam. One on North Beacon Street at North Beacon Court in front of the vacant RCN building, and one in Watertown Square at the Bus Delta. We have a 2-year contract with Lyft, which owns Blue Bikes. And after that, all of the communities, including Boston, will be renegotiating. So we don't know what it will look like in 2 years. And it probably, and a lot of it does depend on whether we have strong ridership. But if there is strong ridership, we do have the opportunity to add stations during that 2-year period.
Nice. And I know that we got a memo about this in our miscellaneous items on Friday. I'll open it up to the committee or anyone for any questions or comments.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add something real quickly. You know, I know the committee's talked a lot about blue bikes in the past and bike shares in the past, and you know, some of the concerns that there were previously with you know, some of the impacts similar to some of the comments Councilor Canales was relaying about scooters and Councilor Feltner. But one of the real big benefits to blue bikes that I just wanted to highlight again is, you know, that in this metropolitan region, the free dockless bike shares that came about really weren't allowed to operate in Boston and Cambridge. And, you know, obviously for us, that's a big part of the reason people might want to rent a bike on a temporary basis is to get in and out of Boston or come out here from Boston. And so having a coordinated single operator that not only you know, provides that operability for people to go into Boston, but also allows them to come out to Watertown and be able to then leave off a bike and spend some time here and pick one back up, you know, I think really is significant, particularly with our ongoing issues with the pandemic and people really wanting to find alternative ways to get around. So I think it's an exciting opportunity and great that it's launched.
Okay. Councilor Plumba?
Mute.
Sorry. Well, first, congratulations to Laura and the gang
Thank
for
you.
getting these set up and going. I do think it's great that people could take a bike from Coolidge Square into Harvard Square and then leave the bike there and pick it up or pick another bike up on the way out. Just from the logistics point, they just need to bring the bike back to the station they had.
No, any station.
Any station. So if the station is full for Summit, I take a bike, go into Coolidge, come back out into Coolidge, but there's no spaces on Coolidge. I go to the next station to leave the bike.
Yeah, the reason, so the bike stations have to be around 1/3 of a mile apart or no more than 1/3 of a mile. And it's exactly for that reason, so that if you get there and there is no bike, or and you can get to another station to get a bike, or conversely, if you can't leave your bike there, you go to the next station.
And is it, I'm not versed in whether it's online or not, or you can do it through your phone or not, but is there going to be a listing of the stations at each station so that people, if they get stuck in that situation or there's no place to put a bike, they know where the next one is? Could there be something posted at each station telling us where the next station is so that people can move on from one station to the next?
I think it is part of the app or online where all the stations are.
Yeah.
I don't think most of the stations do have any signs like that.
Do you think it'd be worth putting the signs there for people who don't use the app? I mean, you don't need the app to use the bike, do you?
Well, you do kind of, because
You?
you're a member, and then that's how you tell it who's taking the bike.
I've
So
used,
you need the app for the bike to use the process, to use the bikes, you need to use an app. Is that right?
Yes.
And the other question was that you put up 7 states. Is there an idea based on the money that you had, the $80,000? Is there a sort of general cost per station, or did you just take the 80 and say, this is what we have, what can you give us for 80?
The deal was really outlined by Lyft. They said that they would give us originally 5 stations for, it's 100,000 because we put in the match, which is only 20,000 a station. And I think that was a pretty good deal. I think they were trying to make an entree into our community and also the other communities that they approached, which were Newton, Arlington, and Chelsea. And so originally it was 5 stations. Each one was going to have 15 docks. In the process of negotiation, they said that they thought it made more sense to do 6 stations with 11 bikes, because the problem here is the density as compared to Boston or Cambridge. We don't have as much density, so more stations is better because you could go further to get into the square. In particular, we wanted to make sure we could have a station in the square. However, adding stations cost more than 20. That was a deal that they made to get in. And so now adding stations is more like 40,000.
So if we found a great use and we wanted to put another station in, it would cost $40,000. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the final question I had on it was referring to publicity, about getting the word out about the use of the blue bikes. So you see the blue bike, you get excited, I'm going to take a blue bike. Or is there other publicity besides the website where our website to go to, or how else are we publicizing the existence of the bikes, of the stations?
It has been in the Watertown News, and I am talking to the cable, someone from the cable on Thursday about it. So I guess, we'll probably try to use the local media. I think Lyft will do something to the Globe to go a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I think the reason it hasn't gone a little bigger yet is because they're waiting for some of the other communities to be ready. We're the first one that got stations for the expansion, so we're kind of a little ahead of the curve. But we'll do some more things with the town website and Notify Me, things like that, to start getting the word out, which we haven't done too much of yet.
So at the immediate situation, if I was to put out a notice to people about the bikes, where would I direct them to learn more about it and to learn how to get on the app and so forth? Where would I send them?
Bluebikes.com. Very simple.
Not to our website.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Canellis.
Thank you. What would be considered an active use of the system in Watertown? Is there a number that they're striving for?
There's a formula. Could I get back to you on that? Because it's in the contract, but I don't know it off the top of my head. It's not a simple number.
Sure, thank you. But I just wanted to comment that overall, for those who enjoy bike sharing, this is certainly a more structured system of format platform than the green bikes. And there were many resident concerns about the bikes being left all over town. So at least there are now locations where they can be picked up and dropped off, and there's nothing coming into the neighborhoods where the bikes would be abandoned. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Lisa?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I'm excited that we're getting the bikes. I know a lot of comments I got where people were disappointed in the quality of line bikes. Plus, a lot of people prefer the docking because of litter, if you will. So I want to request that you send us materials, including the contract, so we can understand what we're in for. The only thing I saw in miscellaneous items was about North Beacon Street and things being in the public way that the Traffic Commission is going to discuss in September, I believe. But I just couldn't find anything for the committee in my emails from Steve or Laura or Gideon, and maybe it's just my search engine. But I think that we should be really informed of what we're getting and using and all that kind of stuff. Also, it was kind of quick at the beginning. You said something about the shuttle. I know we're going to be talking about the TNC funds and the Pleasant Street shuttle, but you said Arsenal Street is not participating in a shuttle and we're doing blue bikes instead, or I didn't quite get what you were saying. If you could.
I haven't talked about the shuttle yet at all. Arsenal Street, the Arsenal Street shuttle is, has actually, most of the blue bikes are on Arsenal Street. And that was, again, Lyft's intelligence on that was that the commercial and industrial sites where people work, employment hubs drive blue bikes much more than residential. And they thought that it would be more successful on Arsenal Street, but it is not at all related to the shuttle.
The earlier reference that you were talking about was the hotels.
Right.
The hotels had a requirement that they
Oh.
pay. And what Laura was saying was that, as we talked to them about that, their participation in the shuttle really didn't seem to make much sense. Their employees were not very numerous, and their people staying there weren't going to use the shuttle. So after we talked about it some, they agreed to contribute to blue bike stations as an alternative. So they're still contributing to alternative forms of transportation, but not so directly in the funding of the shuttle. They do still are members of the TMA and still participate in that.
So I was trying to remember in the permit requirements, it's the staff can determine that instead of participating in a shuttle, they can opt for a different transportation mitigation, or I'm just trying to get a full picture of anticipating when projects come out, what that condition is.
Yeah, there is some flexibility for staff to interpret those things. And I think in this case, it was, that was an appropriate interpretation. Maybe some might not agree with that, but if you wanted us to, we could certainly provide you with the specific, requirements that were associated with the hotel uses and why we came to that conclusion. If that's what you're looking for, we could provide you with that.
Thanks, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
I just got a text message from Kenny that he lost power at his house.
Oh no! It is pretty bad here.
So he said,
My internet's been in and out this afternoon.
I'm going to charge my phone right now.
so he's going to try to.
Can you log on by phone?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need any action.
No.
On the blue bikes.
No.
All right, so then so that's sort of on its way. The only did John Gannon, did you have a?
Yeah, I did, and I apologize for coming late into the game, but I did see that all the locations are going from Watertown Square toward the east end. What about locations in the west end that may not be as commercially viable, but important for folks who live in the west end to commute into the Watertown Square area for their further transportation? What's the next step there?
We would have to pay for more stations. I mean, right now, because of the rule that, or because the requirement that the stations be 1/3 of a mile apart or no more than 1/3 of a mile, and they need to connect to something else, so that the most easternmost station connects to the station at Star Market in Cambridge on Manover Street. So, and that's Coolidge Square. So they all have to be no more than 1/3 of a mile going west.
Yeah, we
So my
can't,
question is, why not 3 bikes up Main Street? And how
They
much
need
does
to
that
connect
cost?
to, they need to connect to Cambridge or the Boston network.
the whole
And that's
thing,
too far away.
So it's about a mile from Watertown Square to the Waltham border.
So we would have to pay for additional stations if we wanted to expand.
so
And
To the
just
west.
question, how much should those be for each?
40,000 per
Okay.
station.
So we have to expand from east to west. If we wanted to go ahead and expand out Main Street, we could do that, but it'd be additional 40,000 for each station. And I think we always viewed it as, you know, this is certainly not the be all end all. It's progressing from east to west, and we would anticipate expanding, you know, at some point. This is an initial effort and, you know, bounded by 2 things, the grant that we got and other contributions that we've gotten. But we can certainly, you know, to the extent that there's interest, you know, continue to look to expand west.
Thank you.
Sounds like, I know Angie has her hand up, and then we'll go Angie, Lisa, Gideon. That's okay?
Sorry.
No worries.
I can't put my hand down. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. Okay.
Angie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
No problem. Then Lisa, then Gideon.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's great that with, you know, we have the North Beacon's a beautiful street and the bike lanes. Can you again remind me? I didn't see an address. It looked like North Beacon Court. Where on North Beacon Street a blue bike station or parking spaces? I know again the Traffic Commission is going to weigh in on September, but
In front of the vacant RCN building, and the station will be in the 2 parking spaces in front of the building.
okay, thank you.
And Gideon, did you have more to add as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I was working with Laura on this, and I just wanted to clarify that we can think that stations are great in certain locations, but ultimately we also have to have a station that works and gets used, or it becomes a piece of equipment that is costly and doesn't meet the needs of the network. And so they also look at the system, you know, the operators look at the network and look at how the locations go. So based on that Main Street comment, I just wanted to be clear that even if we think that putting stations along all of Main Street makes a lot of sense, it may not work from a use perspective in certain locations. So we have to be aware that it's not a simple, we want the station here, so we should put it there. So I just wanted to make sure that we, you know, all understood that it's not that type of system. It's based on them being operational and working and getting used in the right way.
It's a density issue. You know, you really have to have a lot of people who go somewhere or live somewhere.
And
So
a
I
mix
don't-
of density, work and home.
All right, Councilor Feltner, did you want to add as well?
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to mention too that I'm sorry, I don't have all my windows up on the agenda. The bike pedestrian plan, I'm assuming you have a view to that, or when we'll get the update, but of course I'm thinking about Galen Street, the south side often feels forgotten, to John Gannon's point about, you know, what about other parts of town? And I totally understand what Gideon's saying and how Blue Bikes works. I don't know if you're allowed to say about the bike pedestrian places. It's not on the agenda, right? But just where we might be at timing wise.
Steve, I don't know if you wanted to comment
That
on.
helps with.
Yeah.
Sure. You know, I think Galen Street, I would put in the same category as Main Street, that, you know, once the program's up and operating, we would look to find opportunities to expand, certainly, without any question. You know, and to Gideon's point, we want to make sure that those are successful expansions as well. In terms of the bicycle pedestrian plan, yeah, we're still in process with that. Again, Laura's been working very hard with the consultant and making some great progress. I'm not sure, Laura, maybe you could comment on timing of when we would have something that would be, you know, a publicly available document.
We're very close. I mean, we're looking at a final draft right now. The staff is reviewing it, and the bike ped committee, I think, will review it in September at their meeting. We're struggling a little bit with how to have the public presentation of the plan, whether we should do it through a ADP meeting or a council meeting, or just to do a public presentation. I mean, that is part of the process, and it is part of our contract with the consultant to do a final public meeting.
Councilor Palumbo?
Yeah, back to the question about expansion of the programs. You know, adding to Galen and to Main Street obviously is Pleasant Street, where people go back and forth, particularly to some of the businesses out there. It would be great if you all could just send a 2 or 3 sentence, or maybe take what Gideon and Laura have said about the blue bikes requirements, whatever it is that we could have. I'm just pretty, oh man, it's coming down. I think it's pretty clear that we're going to get some, you know, very friendly comments from people about, well, what about us? Why don't we have a bike? And so just something there where I don't have to call you, send you an email and say, can you answer this? We can answer it. If you could just send a couple of sentences that make it clear why.
Yes.
Sure, we'll be happy to do that.
Okay, so just for the minute, so it's 2 things. So no actions required from the committee,
Yep.
but you're going to send the council both the contract with Lyft and an explanation of what the expansion criteria are.
With that, Laura, we can move on to the next topic.
Okay, the next topic is Pleasant Street Shuttle. So the TMA also received a grant from MassDOT from that same program, $245,000 to launch, oh my gosh, you would not believe what's going on here, to launch a shuttle on Pleasant Street. And we also are using TNC funds to match that as well. So we have about $300,000. The term of the grant was that we needed to do a request for proposals. We couldn't just go with the Athena shuttle operators, which we had been working with on Arsenal Street. So that RFP is out right now. We'll hear back on September 9th. We'll get some proposals, and I have gotten some inquiries. I know we will get a response, some responders. The goal for the launch is January 4th, but we have said in the RFP that we might not launch because of the lack of commuters and the lack of need for a shuttle right now.
Yep.
So we're just really not sure what's going to happen with this.
Laura, do you think it would make sense as a committee to meet again on this topic after September 9th to get an update on who was selected and what the plan is? Or does it really make sense to wait more towards the end of the year when we know if we're even going to move forward on that January date?
Go
ahead, Steve.
I'm going to jump in.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to meet, maybe not at the end of the year, but closer to the end of the year, when we do have a little better sense of what's going on, patterns, and we have, you know, a vendor who could also help speak to that. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe somewhere in the November, December range to reconvene and see where we are. You know, as we've said all along, you know, we're very interested in getting the shuttle service going, but we don't want to do it just for the sake of having an empty shuttle riding around. You know, we want to make sure and do it right and make it successful. And I think the current pandemic has definitely thrown us a curveball. So, I think that would make a lot of sense to revisit then.
Okay. Councilor Palumbo?
Yeah, I wonder, you know, it's been such a long time. I'm trying to put my head around where we are in this shuttle process. And I know that the shuttle is sort of considered separate from the TMA association, but it's obviously linked. I wonder if it's so that if Laura's already put out an RFP for this, then that must include how many stops, what times it's running, that sort of information. Is it possible for us just to see a copy of that RFP so we could have a sense of, is it running from 7 a.m. to, what are you putting out for a request for proposal to, and how many stops along the route, and what's the loop back, and, that sort of thing.
Right. Okay, sure. I mean, some of that is to be determined by the shuttle provider. We're not telling them what route they need to drive. We're just telling them where they need to serve. But yes, I'll be happy to send you that. Two other things I just wanted to say about it that I forgot to say is that we had been talking to Riverworks about joining in with the shuttle, and they were quite interested, even though they're not required to. And they have said that they're not going forward right now. Not never, but not right now. So I think that's going to be a problem with getting more participants if we launch before commuters are back to their more normal patterns. And then, but another complicating factor is I think that we have to at least spend some of the money before next summer. So we might be in danger of losing the grant if we don't do something. So it's a dilemma.
Councilor Picciarelli, did you want to jump in?
Okay, so I just for the minutes, so Laura, you'll send out the request for proposal to the full council in a memo?
Yep.
Okay.
To the full council or to this committee?
No, to the council. Same thing with the other documents.
Yeah.
We talked about the
Okay.
the Blue Bike contract and the Blue Bike expansion plan. Send it to the full town council.
Okay.
And does one of the stops include something on River Street in Waltham?
No, not right now. We didn't really get any interest from, we had been talking to, I'm trying to think of what was the name of that, Steve, what was the name of that big industrial development out there, that big commercial, the offices, Center Point.
Yeah, and
right, and
there's a number, both Waltham and Newton have joined the PMA.
Yeah.
Members and participating on a regular basis. So, I think as part of that conversation is, them reaching out to other entities as well and seeing where there's an interest. And as Laura said, so far, there really hasn't been much of an interest either, at least one that we thought would, come to fruition in either Waltham or Newton at this point. But that's certainly a potential.
Great. Okay. Any other questions or comments before I move on? Okay, Laura, what's up next?
the wayfinding grant. One of the recommendations in the parking management plan for Watertown Square and Coolidge Square was to strongly identify municipal parking lots by branding and wayfinding. And then another one was to improve wayfinding and signage. This is to address a couple of different problems. One is that people don't, well, visitors to Watertown Square don't know where the municipal parking is. But in Coolidge Square, even people who live in that area don't know where the municipal parking is. So the thing is, it's a great resource to have a parking lot where you can put your sort of long-term parking parkers, like your employees in particular. If you can get them to park in the parking lot, then it leaves the spaces on the street free for customers, which is a very helpful to the businesses, obviously. So one of the things, it starts with identifying parking areas, but it can be so much more than that. It can tell people how the best way to walk from the Wells Ave lot to Mount Auburn Street. It can tell people where the bike racks are and where the transit stops are, how to walk to the Charles River or the Armenian Museum, or any number of things, Town Hall. So it's a economic development tool, really, as parking can be as well. So that's where we started from, and then I became aware of a grant opportunity from the state in January, where we could get a consultant to help us do a design for wayfinding signs and also a plan for where to locate them. So in June, I heard that we got the grant, And we started the process of putting together like an oversight committee because that's one of the requirements of the grant. So we have on this committee representative of Coolidge Square area, Watertown Square area, we have Public Works, we have Planning, we have the Bike Ped Committee, and we had one other person, which was a resident of the town with some design and economic development experience. And we have Catherine Madden, who some of you may know, she did the economic development plan for the town previously. And she's giving us her time for free, and she's been a great asset. So we've had 2 meetings with the consultant. We've got 2 more coming. We're just sort of starting the process of brainstorming about, you know, what is a good design for wayfinding signs for Watertown. This process also will have a public meeting at some point, I would guess in the fall sometime. And again, it's hard to picture how we would really have a public meeting where we could get good feedback, but we will figure that out. And so we could have something by the end of the fall. And I'm thinking that maybe we would, and we'll have a budget that maybe this would be a proposal for next year's budget to fund.
And Laura, do you think it makes sense, you know, after the brainstorming and the community meeting, would you guys want to come back to committee to, you know, to, I guess, approve like the concept or whatever the idea is and make a recommendation to the full council? Does that make sense?
That's a good way to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Palumbo.
Thank you. Councilor Woodland, you think it might be even helpful to have a short presentation by members of that committee and Laura to the town council before, so we get our heads around it before they move, not before they move forward, but as they move forward with this community meeting, that we might want to have some thoughts about what they're doing. 15-minute presentation at a next council meeting or upcoming council meeting. Does anybody find that think that would be useful?
Sorry, Councilor Feltner.
Well, I was going to suggest a similar thing, or, you know, at least some minutes. I mean, since it involves the public ways, you know, the town council should be aware and not coming in too late of the process, I think, so we can be in sync with, like you said, getting good community feedback. I think it would be helpful.
I guess I'll ask Laura, Steve, what your thoughts are.
I guess I'd suggest a couple things. One, you know, certainly we're happy to do some additional conversation with the council and get you guys up to speed. Two things I would just caution you about that also, though. The contract, the grant that we got for the effort is pretty limited. So it doesn't have room in it for a bunch of public presentations. So, but I think we could do that, you know, at a staff level. You know, we could present it to you guys, and it wouldn't be quite as perhaps in-depth a conversation about you know, some of the whys and wherefores of wayfinding, but we could certainly give you a presentation, let you know where we are, and hopefully get you guys comfortable with the progress that we've made. You know, I think that would make sense if we could do that. Does that make sense to you, Laura?
It does. I just wonder if it makes more sense to do it through the EDP process or through to the full council. So I'll let you guys decide that. Whatever works for you works for us.
Vinny, what do you think?
Well, I think, you know, it's like any of these other studies that we do. I think, you know, we have a consultant, we have a committee of people who are doing the work. You know, they need to sort of put together a preliminary plan. And we said that maybe that will be in the fall, and they'll come back to this committee to sort of look at it. And then depending, there will be, I assume, like we did with the parking study or the other studies, a full presentation to the council. But I think this committee probably will get the first pass of it. Certainly, I think, you know, if the staff has, you know, to Councilor Feltner's point, if staff has some like memos you want to send us, like before that, you know, of certain things you've done or certain issues that problems that have come up or issues of concern, I think that would make sense to send that to the town council. But I'm comfortable in waiting for a preliminary review with this committee as a way before the full town council presentation. I think that's probably the most efficient use of everyone's time.
Sorry, Councilor Palumbo.
That's fine. I would withdraw the
No, that's
suggestion.
I think either way, it's going to end up being a presentation of the council. It's just a matter of timing when. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we'll come back here when we have something to show you.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. Sorry, Angie.
That's okay. Specific to the wayfinding committee, was there a process as to how folks were selected to serve on the committee? Just in case I'm asked by residents, because I didn't know about the committee until I saw it in the memo.
Yeah, with the grant that we got, it was a very short turnaround time, and it mandated a particular committee makeup. At least, and so we, you know, in order to move forward with the grant, we said, okay, we'll do that and put together a committee to do that. You're right that there wasn't a council conversation about that. The membership on the committee included a representative from, you know, some of the business communities, and as well, I'm not going to say again what Laura said in terms of who the committee members are, but it has a pretty good representation, I think, of both interest and skills around that you know, those particular items.
So it was the staff that actually made the selections.
Yeah, we recommended the selection to the for the grant.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. We have one more issue. It's the TNC funds.
Okay. So for the third year, the town received funds from the state from a tax on transportation network companies such as Lyft and Uber. This year we received $63,257. I provided a memo that has a budget in it. It shows how much we've received and what we've allocated. We actually have not spent almost anything because most of the early money was a match for the two grants, and we will be spending those shortly. The total unallocated funds is $76,745. We're requesting $16,000 to pay for the town's TMA membership fee. That's 2 years fee this past year and this coming year. We're the only entity that has not paid their TMA dues for last year. And also another $20,000 for Blue Bikes, which might end up being spent to get us started on another station if that's warranted, but also there seem to be some incidental costs that we didn't know about before, such as moving a station, and we already know we may have to move a station at some point. So it just gives us a little bit of leeway. And so that will still leave, let's see, how much, $40,745 unallocated.
Thank you. I guess I'll just mention very briefly for the public that the tax on transportation network companies, or TNCs, like Uber and Lyft, those tax monies that are reserved for the communities, they are restricted by law, so we can only spend them on certain purposes. And traditionally, yes, folks are spending them on these exact type of ride sharing or traffic mitigation efforts. Yes, sorry, Councilor Palumbo.
Just, I'm sorry, I might have missed it, and Laura said there was a memo, and I might have missed it, but can you send it again?
I can. Sorry if you didn't get it.
No, I haven't had time to look at my emails today, so I'm sorry if I missed it.
It was in the July 30th miscellaneous correspondence.
Oh, okay. I'll check again. I didn't get to the July 30th yet. Don't have to send it, Laura. I can find it.
Okay. Well, let me know if you can't find it.
All right?
I'll attach a copy of it to the committee report.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilor Feltner?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I heard you correct, Ken. I thought that the communities can decide how they spend the funds. So even though they're coming from the transportation network, I thought we talked about this before. People are spending in a lot of creative ways, whether it's, of course, you think transportation like e-charging stations, bikes, etc. I don't know if Steve looks like you're ready to comment.
Sure. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, so yeah, the limitation is that it has to be spent on ways to offset the impacts of the TNCs on the community. So it has to be transportation related. So some of those other things that you mentioned, sure, those other transportation related things, we couldn't spend it on affordable housing or something else that didn't have any relationship to transportation, I think was the point.
Yeah, exactly. So the money is sent into what's called the receipt reserve for appropriation account. And so that money has to be appropriated by the local legislative body. Obviously that's us. And it can only be spent for those specifically those purposes that are enumerated within the statute. And so the definition, it's to address the impact of transportation network services on municipal roads, bridges, or other transportation infrastructure or other public purposes substantially related to the operation of transportation network services in the city or town. Then it gives like some examples and stuff like that. So there's some flexibility, depends how you interpret that, but it's pretty limited. So, Councilor Palumbo.
Yeah, Councilor Feltner said something just clicked into me. I wanted to check in with Laura on this. Is there any use of that money for charging stations? I know that
Ed Lewis?
Thank you. Ms. Lewis was working on some of those charging station issues.
Yep.
And I don't know if you could give me a 2-second update on that, I'd be great. And
Sure.
Using some of this money to support that in any way.
We haven't used it for that purpose. He has another grant, and the power providers also have a responsibility to encourage more efficient uses of energy. So the combination of the two, I think we have that funded. There'll be stations, behind Town Hall, behind the library, and at DPW is the initial effort. And he expects he'll have those in by this fall.
By the fall.
Yeah.
Great. Library, Town Hall, and what's the third one?
Library, Town Hall is kind of combined behind the library, and DPW.
DPW?
Putting it at the senior center, but the uncertainty of the high school project,
Right.
We had to guarantee that it would stay there for at least 3 years. And since we're not sure if the parking lot will stay there for 3 years, we thought it didn't make sense to guarantee the charging station would.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Motion. You want to make a motion?
Yeah, might as well. Oh, we're going to talk about it after Lisa too. So we just get a motion on the floor, might as well.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that to recommend the town council appropriates $28,000 in 2019 TNC funds for $8,000 for TMA dues and $20,000 for blue bikes, leaving $40,745 unappropriated for any allowable future use.
Should we put in there that we're doing 8,000 out of the 2018 monies too?
Yeah, times 2.
Yeah, sorry. Did I say that? Yeah, it was sorry. It was 20. It was 20,000. Yeah, sorry. It's 8,000 from 2018 and
8,000 from 18 and 20 from 2019.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'll second the motion, and then we can open it up for discussion. Councilor Feltner.
Thanks. No, I was just going to say that it would be great to have East Station in the CVS lot. You know, I don't know what analysis has done with parking TED plan, et cetera, parking management plan, but it's great that the town hall, you know, but I was just thinking about the municipal lots, and when you were talking about blue bikes and putting things where they'll get used and high traffic parking, high parking areas, it seems like those would be good locations, whether it's Coolidge Square or the municipal lot behind CVS as well. So,
That's a good point. And, you know, with still a balance there, we can certainly look at expanding on with Ed once he's back to look at adding additional stations, and we can certainly look at those. The one reason we didn't go forward with the CVS lot is similar to the senior center, that, you know, we're looking at redesign of that lot, and, you know, Eversource is pretty clear that if, you know, it's a problem if we move it. They'll install it for us, but it's got to stay there. And so we want to make sure we had that lot sort of sorted out before we went forward with a station there.
can I ask one question of I'm sorry, or I could ask it after because it's not really part of the motion, but just on the e-charging, the ones that are going in, are they open to the public? Like, of course they would want to be at the mall, but the ones that are like at the lots for the Gables or the apartment complexes or North Beacon, you know, when we're getting these projects coming in and they're putting in a station, are those generally going to be more open, or is that just for those residents?
No, they generally speaking are available to the public, but, you know, I would add a caveat to that they are on private property. And so, you know, there is the potential that they could say, no, this is available for some other reason. But no, generally speaking, yes, they are available to the public.
If you, some of them, but not for free, you have to have a charge point account to
Yeah.
pay for.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments before we vote? Okay, we have a motion and a second, and I guess I'll do roll call. Councilor Picciarelli,
Yes.
Councilor Feltner,
Yes.
myself, yes. Okay, so the motion passes 3-0. So those are the 5 issues that we have for this meeting. We do have another meeting starting in about 15 minutes for the joint committees. Did anyone else want to ask any last minute questions before we adjourn?
Well, I guess just to clarify, we're thinking late fall might be our next, depending on, you know, pandemic and and staff, or like
fall would be for the, probably most likely for the wayfinding grant. The shuttle for the TMA would probably be for Pleasant Street, the November-December timeframe. And then, you know, we could see something as soon as a few months. Let's say that the transportation bond bill has this awesome thing for electric scooters. So we could see more staggered meetings over the next year on all these issues.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, like, maybe an update on the Arsenal shuttle along with Pleasant, just how things are going, given that the mall is looking, you know, they're planning, again, see how things go. Hotels to open, it's looking more dubious now. But anyway, just a plug to keep us in the loop.
So in the fall, you're asking for?
Yeah, we were saying, I guess, you know, mid-November to.
Yeah.
Could
On one of these various meetings, I'll make sure to throw on that we get an update on the Arsenal TMA too. Just,
okay.
Yeah. So we have a future agenda. Cool. Okay. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Oh, sorry, I made a motion. Second.
Second. Perfect. All right.
Luck.
Roll call. Councilor Picciarelli,
Yes.
Councilor Feltner,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion passes 3-0. All right. I'll see everyone in like 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah, this, just so everybody knows, it's the same. There's not 2 separate Zoom meetings. There was 1 Zoom meeting. So this is the same Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Continues on starting at 6:15. So
Okay. Okay.
Turn off your camera.
I'll just double check because when I clicked in the agenda, it said not allowed, but maybe it was my computer, so.
But
It's
you're
the
logged
same,
on now.
it's the same meeting password for both. So
Okay, great.
you just turn off your camera and microphone and just.
I'm stretching. Yeah.